Jack Mercer stopped crying 3 years ago. Not because the pain left, but because tears felt like a luxury he no longer deserved. Dawn broke cold over Red Creek Valley. November wind cut through his worn jacket like it had something personal against him. He didn't button it, didn't matter anymore. He knelt at the grave marker, small, wooden, hand-carved. The letters were fading now. Grace Mercer, 2009, 2019. Age 6, 5 years. He'd knelt here every sunrise since. Today he brought wildflowers, dead ones, brittle stems, brown petals, all he could find this time of year. He set them down gently, like she might still feel it. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Same words, every day. The wind answered, just wind. He stood slow, knees aching, back stiff, and limped toward the cabin. Behind him the ranch spread out like something dying in slow motion. Fences leaning, roof sagging, paint peeling. But he stayed, because leaving would mean she died for nothing. Jack was checking the fence line when he heard it. A sound from the barn, soft, rhythmic, like breathing, but wrong somehow. He stopped, listened. There it was again. His first thought, coyote got in, wounded maybe. They'd been getting bolder, coming closer to the buildings now that winter was setting in. He grabbed the flashlight from his truck, walked slow toward the barn. The door hung crooked on its hinges, been meaning to fix that for 3 years. The creak when he pushed it open sounded like a question. Inside, the air smelled like hay and old wood. Dust danced in the last slant of afternoon light coming through the cracks. "Easy now," he said to whatever was in there. The breathing stopped. Jack clicked on the flashlight, swept it across the space. Hay bales, old tarp, rusted tools hanging on nails. Then, a small figure in the corner, huddled, human. His heart kicked. "Hey," he said, softer now, kept his distance. "You okay?" The figure shifted. A child. Girl, maybe 8 years old. Dirty face streaked with tears, dress torn at the hem. One leg twisted at an angle that didn't look right. She was clutching a stuffed rabbit, so filthy it might have been white once. Hard to tell. Jack lowered the flashlight so it wasn't in her eyes, crouched down slow, keeping his movements small, non-threatening. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said. She watched him with eyes too wide, too dark, like she'd seen things no kid should see. Most children would have screamed, run, something. This one didn't. She just stared at him for a long moment, then her mouth twitched, almost a smile. "Are you the man who talks to horses?" she asked. Jack blinked. Of all the things he expected. "What?" "In town. Mrs. Henderson said there's a man out here who talks to horses. Is that you?" Jack's throat tightened. "Yeah, that's me." The girl's smile grew a little. "I knew it." Something in Jack's chest cracked open, just a hairline fracture, but he felt it. He cleared his throat. "What's your name?" "Lily." "You hurt, Lily?" She nodded, pointed to her leg. "It's always like this. I can't run fast." She said it matter of fact, like she'd explained it 100 times before. Jack noticed the leg brace then, cheap plastic held together with duct tape. One of the straps was broken clean through. "You hungry?" Her eyes filled with tears. She nodded again. Jack stood, extended his hand. "Come on, I'll make something." Lily looked at his hand like it was a puzzle she needed to solve. Then she reached out, small fingers, dirt under the nails, and took it. The warmth of her palm against his shocked him. He hadn't touched another human being in 5 years, not since the funeral, not since he'd shaken the pastor's hand and walked away from everyone who tried to tell him it wasn't his fault. This was different. This was trust. Her hand was tiny, fragile, and she held on like she'd been waiting her whole life for someone to reach back. Jack helped her stand. She winced but didn't complain, just grabbed her rabbit tighter and limped beside him toward the barn door. They were almost outside when Lily stopped, pointed at the horizon. "Pretty," she said. Jack followed her gaze. The sunset. He'd walked past it every evening for years, never really looked. Now he did. Orange bleeding into purple, gold at the edges, the sky on fire in a way that didn't hurt to watch. "Yeah," he said quietly. "Pretty." Behind them, the barn door swung in the wind, that same creak, the one that had been grating on his nerves for 3 years. Tonight, for some reason, it didn't bother him. They walked toward the cabin together. Lily's limp made her gait uneven, so Jack slowed his pace to match hers. She didn't let go of his hand. "You got a name?" she asked. "Jack." "Jack," she repeated, like she was testing how it felt in her mouth. "That's a good name." "It's just a name." "No," she said, serious now. "It's a good one. Strong." "Like you." Jack almost laughed. "Strong, That's not what the town called him. Broken, maybe. Cursed. The man who let his daughter burn. But this kid, this stranger who'd been in his barn for God knows how long, she looked at him like he was something worth trusting. They reached the cabin steps. Jack opened the door and the hinges groaned. Everything about this place groaned. Inside it was sparse. One room, really. Kitchenette in the corner. Old couch with springs poking through. Wood stove in the middle. A bed against the far wall, unmade. And on the shelf above the stove, the oil lamp. Grace's lamp. It sat there. Dark. Dusty. He hadn't touched it since. "You gonna light that?" Lily asked. Jack's voice went flat. "It's broken." Lily tilted her head. "Looks okay to me." "It's not." She didn't push, just hobbled over to the couch and sat down with a small sigh. Her rabbit sat in her lap. She patted its matted fur like it was the most precious thing in the world. Jack moved to the kitchenette, pulled out a can of beans, stale bread. It was all he had. "This okay?" he asked. Lily's eyes went wide. "That's a lot." Jack paused. A can of beans and stale bread was a lot? Where the hell had this kid come from? He didn't ask, not yet. Just heated the beans on the stove and sliced the bread. Lily watched him the whole time, swinging her good leg back and forth like she was at a diner waiting for a milkshake. When he set the plate in front of her, she looked up at him with something close to wonder. "Thank you," she whispered. Then she ate like she hadn't seen food in days. Probably hadn't. Jack sat across from her, not eating, just watching, and for the first time in 5 years, he felt something other than guilt. He felt useful. When she finished, she set the plate down carefully, looked at him with those two serious eyes. "You live here alone?" she asked. Jack nodded. "Don't you get lonely?" The question landed like a punch. "Yeah." Lily smiled, small, sad. "Me too." After dinner, darkness came fast. Jack stood at the sink washing the dishes. Just one plate, one spoon, one pot. Lily sat at the table, swinging her good leg, humming something soft and off-key. "You got a bathroom?" she asked. Jack pointed to the door by the bed. "Through there. Water's cold, though. Heater's been out since last winter." "That's okay," Lily said. "Cold's better than nothing." She hobbled off, dragging her broken brace across the floor. The sound made Jack wince. He'd have to fix that. Tomorrow, maybe. When she came back out, her face was cleaner. Still dirt in her hair, but her cheeks were pink from scrubbing. "Better?" he asked. She nodded, then looked around the cabin like she was taking inventory. Her eyes landed on the shelf above the stove, on the oil lamp. "Why don't you light it?" she asked again. Jack dried his hands on a rag, didn't look at her. "Told you, it's broken." "How do you know if you don't try?" Jack's jaw tightened. "I just know." Lily tilted her head, studying him. Then she stood, wobbly on her bad leg, and walked over to the shelf. She had to stretch on her toes to reach it. "Careful," Jack started, but she already had it, lifted it down with both hands, careful as if it were made of glass, which partly it was. She set it on the table, sat down in front of it. "It's pretty," she said. Jack stared at the lamp. Brass base, dented on one side, glass chimney cracked down the middle but still intact, wick blackened from years of use. Grace used to light it every night. She'd sit at this table and do her homework by its glow, even though they had electric lights. She said the lamp felt warmer. Jack hadn't touched it since the fire. "It's old," he said, voice flat. "Old things are the best things," Lily said. She ran her fingers over the brass. "My grandma had one like this before she died." Jack didn't know what to say to that. Lily looked up at him. "Do you have matches?" "Kid, please." There was something in her eyes. Not begging, just asking, like she knew something he didn't. Jack sighed, reached into the drawer by the stove, pulled out a box of matches, tossed them on the table. Lily opened the box, took one out, held it like it was a sacred thing. Jack's heart kicked. "You know how to—" She struck it. The flame leapt to life, bright and sudden. Jack flinched. For half a second he was back in the cabin 5 years ago, smoke in his lungs, heat on his face, Grace's voice. "Daddy!" But then Lily lifted the glass chimney, touched the match to the wick. The lamp caught. Slow at first, then steady. Golden light filled the table, pushed back the shadows. Lily smiled, set the chimney back in place, blew out the match. "See?" she said. "Not broken." Jack stood frozen, staring at the light. It looked the same warm glow, same gentle flicker, like nothing had changed, like Grace might walk through the door any second and sit down to do her homework. "You okay?" Lily asked. Jack swallowed hard. Nodded, couldn't speak. Lily studied him for a moment. Then she said, quiet, "My mom says things aren't broken just because they're sad. They're just waiting for someone to believe in them again." Jack's throat closed up. He pulled out the chair across from her, sat down slow. "Your mom sounds smart," he managed. Lily's face fell a little. "She is, but she's not here." "Where is she?" "I don't know." Lily looked down at her rabbit, picked at its threadbare ear. "She's always busy, always working. She says it's because she loves me, but it doesn't feel like love." Jack understood that, more than he wanted to. "You run away?" he asked. Lily nodded. 3 days ago, I walked until I couldn't walk anymore. Then I found your barn." "You walked? With that leg?" "I had to." Her voice was small now. "She forgot my school play, again, and I wanted someone to notice I was gone." Jack's chest tightened. A kid walking for 3 days just to be missed. "She noticed," he said. "I guarantee it." "You think so?" "I know so." Lily looked at him, hopeful. Then her eyes drifted to the lamp again. "This was someone's, wasn't it?" she asked. "Someone you loved." Jack's breath caught. He nodded. "My daughter's." Lily's eyes went wide. "Where is she?" Jack looked at the flame. Steady, warm, alive. "She died," he said, 5 years ago. "I'm sorry." "Me too." They sat in silence for a while, just the crackle of the wood stove and the soft hiss of the lamp. Then Lily said, "What was her name?" "Grace." "That's a pretty name." "She was a pretty kid." Jack smiled despite himself. "Looked a lot like you, actually, always asking questions, always poking at things she shouldn't." Lily grinned. "She sounds cool." "She was." "You miss her?" Jack's smile faded. "Every day." Lily reached across the table, put her small hand on his. "I bet she's proud of you," she said. Jack's eyes stung. "Why would she be proud of me?" "Because you're still here." There it was again, that phrase. You're still here. Like it meant something more than just being alive. Jack didn't pull his hand away, just let her hold it. After a while, he stood. "You need to sleep. I'll make up the couch." "Can I stay here?" Lily asked. "By the lamp?" "You'll get cold." "That's okay. I like the light." Jack grabbed the old blankets from the chest by the bed, brought them over, wrapped one around her shoulders. She pulled it tight, her rabbit tucked under her chin. "Jack?" she said, sleepy now. "Yeah?" "Will you tell me a story? About Grace?" Jack hesitated. He hadn't talked about Grace in years. Not real stories, just apologies at her grave. But Lily was looking at him with those wide, trusting eyes, so he sat back down. "Once," he said slowly, "there was a girl who loved horses more than anything. She used to sneak out to the barn at dawn just to watch them wake up. She'd name every single one, even the mean ones." Lily smiled. "What did she name them?" "Funny things. There was Biscuit and Pancake and one old stallion she called Grumpy Joe." Lily giggled, soft and sleepy. "She sounds like she was magic," Lily whispered. Jack's throat tightened. "She was." "You're magic too," Lily said, her eyes drifting closed. "How do you figure that?" "Because you talk to horses, and you light lamps that don't work, and you're still here." She said it like it was the simplest thing in the world. Jack watched her fall asleep, her breathing evening out, her small hands still clutching the rabbit. The lamp burned steady between them. For the first time in 5 years, Jack's cabin didn't feel like a tomb. It felt like a home. He sat there for a long time, just watching the light. Maybe Lily was right. Maybe things weren't broken. Maybe they were just waiting for someone to believe in them again. Morning came with frost on the windows. Jack woke to the smell of coffee, which was strange because he never made coffee anymore. Waste of beans when you're the only one drinking it. He sat up. Lily was at the stove, standing on a chair, pouring water into the old percolator. "You know how to make coffee?" he asked, voice rough from sleep. She looked over her shoulder, grinned. "My nanny taught me, before Mama fired her." Jack stood, walked over. "You shouldn't be up on that chair with your leg." "I'm fine." She hopped down, wobbly but determined. "Besides, you saved me. Least I can do is make you coffee." Jack didn't know what to say to that. So he just waited while the percolator bubbled and hissed. When it was done, she poured him a cup, hands shaking a little from the weight, but she didn't spill a drop. He took a sip. It was terrible, weak and bitter at the same time. "It's perfect," he said. Lily beamed. They ate breakfast, stale cereal, no milk, and then Jack made a decision he'd been avoiding. "We need to go into town," he said. Lily's face fell. "Why?" "Because I'm out of food, and you need new clothes. That dress is barely holding together." "I don't want to go into town." "Why not?" She looked down at her rabbit. "People stare." Jack understood that, more than she knew. "They'll stare at me too," he said. "We can be stared at together." Lily thought about it, then nodded. "Okay." The drive into Red Creek took 20 minutes on a road that needed paving 10 years ago. Jack's truck rattled like it had a grudge against every pothole. Lily sat in the passenger seat, looking out the window. Her rabbit was buckled in between them like a third passenger. "Jack?" she said. "Yeah?" "Why do you live so far from everyone?" Jack kept his eyes on the road. "People and I don't get along much anymore." "Why not?" "They think I'm cursed." Lily frowned. "That's stupid." "Maybe, but people believe what they want to believe." Red Creek wasn't much of a town. One main street, general store, church, post office, gas station that had been closed since the pandemic. Population maybe 300, if you counted the dogs. Jack parked in front of Henderson's general store, the only place to buy anything within 50 miles. Inside, it smelled like dust and old linoleum. Mrs. Henderson stood behind the counter, 60-something, gray hair in a tight bun, eyes that missed nothing. She looked up when they walked in. Her gaze went straight to Lily. "Well," she said, "who's this?" "Just picking up supplies," Jack said, not answering the question. "That's so." Mrs. Henderson came around the counter, peered at Lily like she was inspecting produce. "Where'd you come from, sweetheart?" Lily shrank back against Jack's leg. "She's staying with me for a bit," Jack said. Mrs. Henderson's eyebrows shot up. "Staying with you? Jack Mercer, you can't just what?" His voice was calm, flat, dangerous. Mrs. Henderson's mouth snapped shut, but her eyes were already calculating, already planning what she'd tell everyone after he left. Jack grabbed a basket, started loading it with canned goods, bread, peanut butter. Lily stayed close to him, limping along, holding his jacket. At the end of the aisle, two women whispered to each other. One of them was Clara Dawson, the sheriff's wife. The other was someone Jack didn't recognize. They stared at Lily, then at Jack. Clara leaned over to the other woman, whispered something behind her hand. Jack heard it anyway. "That's the man whose daughter burned." His jaw tightened, but he kept walking. At the register, Mrs. Henderson rang up the items in silence. Then as Jack was pulling out his wallet, she said, "You call the sheriff about her?" "Not yet." "Jack." Her voice softened, just a little. "You can't keep a child. That's not how it works. I'm not keeping her, I'm helping her. And what if her parents are looking? Then they'll find her." Mrs. Henderson shook her head, but she bagged the groceries without another word. As they were leaving, the door opened. Samuel Harding walked in. He was 52, sharp suit, slicked back hair, owned half the property in the county, including the bank. He smiled like a man who'd never been told no in his life. "Mercer," he said, blocking the doorway. "Funny running into you." Jack said nothing, just tried to move past. Harding didn't move. His eyes flicked to Lily. "Who's the kid?" "None of your business." Harding's smile widened. "Small town, Jack. Everything's my business." He crouched down to Lily's level. "What's your name, sweetheart?" Lily didn't answer, just pressed closer to Jack. Harding stood, looked at Jack. "You're 3 months behind on your mortgage. You know that, right?" "I know. I've been patient, but patience has limits." Jack's voice dropped. "What do you want, Harding?" "Just want to make sure you understand your situation. That land's worth more than you can afford to keep, and with winter coming..." He shrugged. "Might be time to let go." "I'm not selling. We'll see." Harding glanced at Lily again. "Cute kid. Where'd she come from?" Jack stepped closer, voice low, controlled. "Move." Harding held up his hands, grinning. "Easy, cowboy. Just making conversation." He stepped aside. Jack walked past him, Lily in tow. Behind them, Harding called out, "You don't want CPS sniffing around, Jack. Trust me on that." Jack didn't look back, just kept walking. In the truck, Lily was quiet. Who was that? She finally asked. Nobody important. He seemed mean. He is. Lily looked at her rabbit, then at Jack. Are you really going to lose your house? Jack started the engine. Don't worry about it. But, I said don't worry about it. She went quiet. Jack felt bad for snapping, but he didn't know how to explain that he'd been losing everything for 5 years. The mortgage was just the latest thing on the list. They drove in silence for a while. Then Lily said, Jack? Yeah? Thank you for not leaving me. Jack's hands tightened on the wheel. I'm not going to leave you, kid. She smiled, small but real. Jack hoped he could keep that promise. Cut to New York City, 2,000 miles away. Victoria Chen sat in her corner office on the 47th floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Manhattan. The city stretched out below her like something she owned. Her assistant stood in the doorway, clipboard in hand, nervous. Ms. Chen, the search team still haven't... I don't want updates on what they haven't done. Victoria's voice was ice. I want results. Yes, ma'am. But the police expanded the search radius. They think Lily might have gotten farther than we thought. How much farther? Wyoming, possibly. They found footage of a girl matching her description at a rest stop near... Wyoming? Victoria stood. What the hell is in Wyoming? The assistant swallowed. They're not sure, but they're checking small towns along Interstate 80. Victoria pressed her palms against the desk, closed her eyes. In her mind, she saw Lily's face, the way she'd looked at 2 weeks ago, standing on stage in her school play. Dressed as a tree, Victoria had been in this office, on a call with Tokyo. She'd missed it. When she got home that night, Lily was in her room, door locked. Victoria had knocked. Lily, sweetheart, I'm sorry. Work was a... You always say that. I know, but this time... You promised, Mama. Victoria had pressed her forehead against the door. I'll make it up to you, I promise. Lily hadn't answered. The next morning she was gone. Now, standing in her office, Victoria felt something she hadn't felt in years. Fear. Not the kind you get in boardrooms or negotiations, the kind that hollows you out. Find her, she said quietly. I don't care what it costs. Find my daughter. Yes, ma'am. The assistant left. Victoria stood alone in her office. Outside, the city glittered, cold and beautiful and empty. She looked at her phone. The last text from Lily, 3 weeks ago. Do you even love me anymore? Victoria had been in a meeting. She'd seen it, planned to respond later. She never did. Now she typed, I love you. Please come home. But the message just sat there, undelivered. Lily's phone was off, or dead, or destroyed. Victoria deleted the text, typed instead, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Deleted that too. Outside, the sun was setting, the city turning gold. Victoria sat down, and for the first time in 15 years she cried at her desk. That evening, Jack went outside to check on the horses. Lily had been quiet since they got back from town. She'd helped him put away the groceries, but she kept looking at him like she was trying to solve a puzzle. I'll be back in 20 minutes, Jack said. You okay here? Lily nodded. She was sitting on the couch with her rabbit, watching the lamp burn. Don't touch the stove, Jack added. I won't. He pulled on his jacket and stepped out into the cold. Inside, Lily waited until she heard his footsteps fade. Then she stood. She wasn't trying to snoop. Not really. She was just curious. The cabin was small. One room, not many places to hide things, but there was a dresser by the bed. Old wood, 3 drawers. Lily limped over, pulled open the top drawer, socks, a few old t-shirts. Nothing interesting. Second drawer, more clothes, a belt, a pocket knife. Third drawer. She stopped. There, folded carefully on top of everything else, was a red scarf, faded, soft, like it had been washed 1,000 times. Lily lifted it out, held it up to her face. It smelled like cedar and dust and something else. Something sad. She wrapped it around her neck. It was big on her. Hung down past her knees, she walked over to the small mirror by the door, looked at herself. The scarf made her look older, or maybe just less broken. She smiled. Behind her, the door opened. Jack stood in the doorway, frozen. His face went white. Take it off, he said. Lily turned. I'm sorry, Take it off, now. His voice wasn't loud, but it was hard, cold, like a door slamming shut. Lily's hands fumbled with the scarf, pulled it off, held it out to him. I didn't mean to... Jack snatched it from her, stared at it like it was something alive, something that could hurt him. Don't touch my things, he said. Then he turned. walked to the dresser, folded the scarf with shaking hands, put it back in the drawer, closed it. Lily stood there, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Jack didn't look at her, just stood with his back to her, gripping the edge of the dresser. "Go sit down," he said. Lily limped back to the couch, sat, pulled her rabbit close. The lamp flickered between them. For a long time, neither of them spoke. Jack finally turned around, saw her crying, his chest tightened. "I'm sorry," he said, voice rough. "I shouldn't have." "It's okay," Lily said quickly, wiping her eyes. "It's your stuff. I shouldn't have touched it." "No, it's not okay." Jack crossed the room, sat down in the chair across from her. "I scared you. That's not okay." Lily looked up at him. "Whose scarf was it?" Jack's jaw worked. He didn't want to answer, didn't want to go back there. But Lily was looking at him with those wide, trusting eyes, the ones that made him feel like maybe he could still be a good man. "My daughter's," he said finally. Lily's eyes widened. "Grace's?" Jack nodded. "I'm sorry, I didn't know. It's the only thing I have left of her, that and the lamp." "What happened to her?" Lily asked, soft, careful. Jack leaned back, looked at the ceiling, the question he'd been avoiding for 5 years. "You really want to know?" "Only if you want to tell me." Jack closed his eyes. "There was a fire," he said, 5 years ago, in this cabin." Lily went still. "Grace was 6, same age you are now, probably. It was winter, cold like this. I'd been working outside all day, trying to fix the fence before the big snow hit." He paused, swallowed. "We had an old wood stove, cast iron. Grace knew how to use it. I taught her, but I always made sure I was there when she lit it." His voice cracked. "That night, one of the horses got loose. Big paint stallion, mean as hell. He got through the fence and was heading for the road. If he'd gotten hit..." Jack's hands clenched. "I told Grace to stay inside. Lock the door. Don't touch anything. I'd be back in 10 minutes. Lily's eyes filled with tears. "I chased that damn horse for half an hour. By the time I got him back, pinned him up, I could see the smoke." His voice broke completely now. "I ran. Fastest I've ever moved in my life. But the cabin was the whole thing was burning. The door was jammed. I kicked it in. Smoke so thick I couldn't see. I called her name." He stopped, hands shaking. She called back. From her room, she couldn't get out. The fire was between us. "I tried. God, I tried. But the heat. I couldn't..." Jack put his face in his hands. "The roof came down. I got pulled out by the neighbors. They held me back. Wouldn't let me go in again. By the time the fire department came..." He didn't finish. Didn't need to. Lily was crying now, silent tears running down her face. "It was my fault," Jack said. "I left her. I chose a horse over my daughter. 10 minutes. That's all it took." "It was an accident," Lily whispered. "Doesn't matter. I was her father. I was supposed to keep her safe." "You didn't know." "I should have known." Jack's voice was raw. "Every morning, I go to her grave. And I say I'm sorry. But it doesn't change anything. She's still dead. And I'm still here." Lily stood, limped over to him. She didn't say anything. Just climbed into his lap, wrapped her small arms around his neck, and held on. Jack's breath hitched, then broke. He held her. And for the first time in 5 years, he cried. Not quiet tears, not dignified grief. He sobbed like a man who'd been holding it in so long he'd forgotten how to let it out. Lily didn't let go, just held him, patted his back like he was the child, and she was the adult. "It's okay," she whispered. "It's okay." But it wasn't okay. And they both knew it. Still, she stayed. And he held on. Outside, the wind howled. Inside, the lamp burned steady. When Jack finally pulled himself together, he wiped his eyes, looked at Lily. "I'm sorry," he said. "You shouldn't have to..." "You're a good dad," Lily said. Jack shook his head. "I'm not a dad anymore." "Yes, you are." Her voice was firm, certain. "Grace still loves you, and you still love her. That doesn't stop just because someone's gone." Jack's throat tightened. "How do you know that?" "Because my dad's gone too, and I still love him, and I know he still loves me, even if he can't say it anymore." Jack stared at her. This 8-year-old girl with the broken leg brace and the filthy rabbit. This kid who'd walked 3 days through the wilderness just to be noticed. She understood. "What happened to your dad?" he asked. He got sick 2 years ago. Cancer. Mama worked even more after that. I think... I think she was scared if she stopped, she'd have to feel it. Jack nodded. He understood that too. Lily yawned, small, tired. You should sleep, Jack said. Can I ask you something first? Yeah. If Grace could see you now, do you think she'd be mad? Jack thought about it, really thought. No, he said finally. She'd probably tell me to stop being so stubborn. Lily smiled. She sounds smart. She was. Lily climbed off his lap, limped back to the couch. Jack stood, got the blankets, tucked her in. Jack, she said, already half asleep. Yeah? I'm glad the horse got loose. Jack frowned. Why? Because if it didn't, you wouldn't have been here, and I wouldn't have found you. She closed her eyes. Jack stood there, staring at her. She was right. If the horse hadn't gotten loose, Grace would still be alive. But if Grace were still alive, he wouldn't have been the man Lily needed to find. The universe was cruel that way, but maybe it was kind too. Jack walked to the dresser, opened the drawer, took out the red scarf. He walked back to the couch, laid it gently over Lily's blanket. She stirred, touched it, smiled in her sleep. Jack sat down in the chair, watched her breathe, and for the first time in 5 years he didn't feel like a murderer. He just felt like a man who'd made a mistake, and was trying, so damn hard, to do better. 3 days passed. Jack taught Lily how to feed the horses, how to brush them without getting kicked. She couldn't run, but she could stand there with a curry comb and hum while the horses ate from her hand. She named them all, even though Jack told her not to get attached. That one's Biscuit, she said, pointing to the gray mare. Jack's heart stopped. What did you say? Biscuit, because she's the color of biscuits. Grace had named that same horse the exact same thing. Jack just nodded, couldn't speak. On the third evening, they were in the barn when they heard it. A sound that didn't belong, distant, mechanical, getting louder. Whoop, 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 whoop. Lily's whole body went rigid. What is that? Jack asked. Lily's face went pale. She found me. Who? My mother. The sound grew closer, louder. The horses spooked, stamping and snorting. Jack stepped outside, shielded his eyes against the setting sun. A helicopter crested the ridge, black, sleek, the kind that cost more than his entire ranch. It circled once, then descended into the field behind the cabin. Dust kicked up in a violent cloud. The horses screamed. Jack covered his face. The helicopter touched down. The rotors kept spinning. A woman stepped out. Even from a distance, Jack could see the money. Long black coat, sunglasses, heels that sank into the dirt. She moved like someone used to people getting out of her way. Behind her, 2 men in suits. Security, probably. The woman removed her sunglasses, looked at the cabin, the sagging roof, the broken fence. Her expression was unreadable. Then she saw Lily standing in the barn doorway. Lily! She screamed, but it wasn't relief in her voice. It was something harder, anger, maybe, or fear so sharp it looked like anger. She ran toward the barn, as fast as you can run in heels on uneven ground. Lily didn't move, just stood there, gripping Jack's sleeve. The woman reached them, fell to her knees in the dirt, grabbed Lily by the shoulders. Are you hurt? Did he hurt you? No, Mama. What were you thinking? Do you have any idea? Her voice cracked. 3 days. 3 days, Lily. I thought you were dead. I'm sorry. The woman pulled her into a crushing hug. Lily's face disappeared against her shoulder. For a moment, she looked like a mother, and terrified, relieved, human. Then she pulled back. Her face hardened. She stood, turned to Jack. Who the hell are you? Jack Mercer. I own this land. And you didn't think to call the police when you found my daughter? Jack's jaw tightened. Phone line's been out for months, and she needed food. So you just kept her for 3 days? I didn't keep her. I helped her. Victoria's eyes were cold. You're lucky I don't have you arrested. One of the security guys stepped forward, crossed his arms. Jack didn't flinch. She was hurt, hungry, scared. I gave her what she needed. What she needed was to be returned to her family. Maybe if her family had been paying attention, she wouldn't have run away in the first place. The words landed like a slap. Victoria's face went white, then red. Excuse me? You heard me. You have no idea what you're talking about. Don't I? Jack looked at Lily. Kid walked 3 days on a broken leg brace. You know why? Because she wanted someone to notice she was gone. Victoria's hands clenched. You don't get to judge me. I'm not judging. I'm just telling you what she told me. Lily tugged on Victoria's coat. Mama, he's not. Be quiet, Lily. Lily's face crumpled. Victoria turned back to Jack. Her voice was ice now, professional, detached. Thank you for keeping her safe, Mr. Mercer. I'll make sure you're compensated for your trouble. She reached into her bag, pulled out a checkbook. How much? Jack stared at her. You think I want money? Everyone wants money. Not from you. Victoria's pen hovered over the check. 20,000? No. 50? No. Name your price. Jack stepped closer, voice low, dangerous. There is no price. I didn't help your daughter so you could pay me off and feel better about yourself. Victoria's composure cracked, just a little. Then what do you want? I want you to ask yourself why an 8-year-old girl would rather sleep in a stranger's barn than in her own home. The words hung in the air like smoke. Victoria's mouth opened, closed. No sound came out. Behind her, Lily was crying now, silent tears running down her face. Mama, I don't want to go, she whispered. Victoria turned. What? I don't want to go home. Lily, don't be ridiculous. We're leaving. You're never there. You don't even know I exist unless I'm missing. Victoria flinched like she'd been hit. That's not true. Yes, it is. Lily's voice was getting louder. You missed my play. You missed my birthday dinner. You didn't even know I broke my leg brace until just now. Victoria looked down, saw the broken plastic, the duct tape, the worn straps. Her face went pale. When did that happen? 2 months ago. Why didn't you tell me? I did. You said you'd take me to get it fixed, but you never did. You were always too busy. Victoria's hands were shaking now. Lily, I work so we can have. I don't care about having things. Lily's voice broke. I just wanted you. The words cut through everything. All the money, all the power, all the justifications. Victoria stood there, silent, shattered. Then she looked at Jack, really looked at him, saw the way Lily stood close to him, the way she felt safe. What did you do? Victoria asked. Her voice was quiet now, raw. What did you do to make her love you in 3 days? Jack met her eyes. I showed up. The words hit Victoria like a bullet to the chest. She turned away, composed herself. When she turned back, her face was a mask again. Thank you for your help, Mr. Mercer. But Lily is my daughter. We're leaving. Jack nodded slowly. I know. Lily looked up at him, eyes pleading. Jack, your mama's right, he said gently. You need to go home. But, Lily, Jack knelt down to her level. You've got a mama who loves you. She just forgot how to show it for a while. But she's here now. That means something. She won't stay, Lily whispered. She never stays. Jack looked at Victoria. Will you? Victoria's throat worked. She looked at her daughter, saw the way Lily was gripping Jack's hand, the way she'd wrapped the red scarf around her neck like armor. Victoria's voice cracked. I don't know how. You learn, Jack said. Same way you learn anything. You just keep showing up until you get it right. Victoria's eyes filled with tears. She wiped them away quickly, angry at herself for crying in front of strangers. Can we? She stopped, started again. Can we stay? Just one night? Jack blinked. What? I need to. Victoria looked at the cabin, the barn, the horses. I need to understand what she found here that she couldn't find at home. One of the security guys stepped forward. Ms. Chen, we should really. I said we're staying. Her voice was steel again. The security guy backed off. Victoria looked at Jack. If that's all right with you? Jack hesitated. Every instinct told him to say no, to let them leave, to go back to his quiet, empty life. But Lily was looking at him with those wide, hopeful eyes. Yeah, he said finally. Okay. That night, the cabin felt impossibly small. Victoria sat at the table. Jack stood by the stove. The security guys waited outside in the helicopter. Lily was on the couch, wrapped in blankets, watching them both. I don't have much food, Jack said, but I can make soup. That's fine, Victoria said. She looked around the cabin. One room, bare walls, cracked window, the oil lamp burning on the table. Her eyes landed on the photo on the mantel. Jack and a little girl, both smiling. Your daughter? She asked. Jack nodded. Where is she? Dead, 5 years ago. Victoria went still. I'm sorry. Me too. Silence. Then Victoria said, How? Jack didn't want to answer, but something about the way she asked, like she genuinely wanted to know, not just making conversation, made him speak. Fire. I wasn't there. Victoria's hands tightened around her coffee cup. You weren't there. No, but it wasn't your fault. Jack's laugh was bitter. Wasn't it? You didn't start the fire. I left her alone. That's the same thing. Victoria looked at him, really looked. I left Lily alone too, she said quietly. Every day, for 2 years. Jack said nothing. After my husband died, I threw myself into work. I told myself it was for her, so she'd never want for anything, so she'd be proud of me. Her voice cracked. But I was lying. I was working because if I stopped, I'd have to feel it. And I couldn't let myself break. She wiped her eyes. So I built an empire, and I lost my daughter. Jack poured the soup, set bowls on the table. You didn't lose her, he said. She's right there. Victoria looked at Lily, fast asleep on the couch, the red scarf tucked under her chin. She doesn't feel like mine anymore. Then you make her feel like yours. You show up every day until she believes you again. Victoria's voice was barely a whisper. What if I don't know how? Jack sat down across from her. You learn. They ate in silence. When they finished, Jack gave Victoria his bed. He'd sleep in the barn. Before he left, Victoria stopped him. Mr. Mercer? Jack, why did you help her? Jack looked at Lily, sleeping peacefully, safe. Because I couldn't help mine. He walked out into the cold. Inside, Victoria sat on the edge of the bed, stared at the oil lamp burning on the table, and wondered how a man with nothing had given her daughter everything she'd failed to provide. Jack didn't sleep. He sat in the barn, back against a hay bale, listening to the horses breathe. It was cold enough to see his breath, but he didn't move, just sat there in the dark. Around midnight, he stood, walked to his truck. He needed to think. And there was only one place he could do that. Chief Joseph Running Bear's trading post sat 5 miles down a dirt road that barely qualified as a road, a small wooden building with a hand-painted sign, Running Bears, open when I feel like it. Tonight the lights were on. Jack parked, walked up the steps. The door was unlocked. Inside it smelled like tobacco and sage. Shelves lined with blankets, beadwork, canned goods, things nobody needed, but everybody bought, eventually. Chief Running Bear sat behind the counter. 70 years old, silver braids, weathered face like carved stone. He was reading a Louis L'Amour paperback. He looked up when Jack entered, said nothing, just poured 2 cups of coffee from the pot on the hot plate. Jack sat down on the stool across from him. They drank in silence for a long time. Finally, the chief spoke. She came. It wasn't a question. Jack nodded. You gonna let the girl go? She's not mine to keep. But you want to. Jack stared into his coffee. Doesn't matter what I want. The chief closed his book, set it aside. You know what your problem is, Jack? I got a lot of problems. You think saving that girl will bring Grace back? Jack's hands tightened around the cup. It won't, the chief continued, voice gentle but firm. But maybe it'll bring you back. I don't deserve to come back. The chief leaned back in his chair. Who told you that? Nobody had to tell me. I know what I did. You made a mistake. That's not the same as being evil. Tell that to Grace. Grace is dead, Jack. The words were hard but not cruel. You can't apologize to her anymore. You can only decide what you do with the time you got left. Jack said nothing. The chief sipped his coffee. My grandfather used to say, a man who falls in the river can drown, or he can learn to swim. Either way, the river don't care. It just keeps moving. What's that supposed to mean? Means you've been drowning for 5 years, and that girl gave you a reason to swim. But you gotta choose it, Jack. Nobody can choose it for you. Jack's voice was raw. I don't know how. Sure you do. You've been doing it for 3 days. You fed her, kept her warm, listened to her. That's what swimming looks like. But she's leaving. So I go back to drowning. The chief shook his head. No, you go back to living. There's a difference. Jack looked up. How? You keep the lamp lit. You fix the fence. You talk to the horses. You show up at her grave, and you stop apologizing. You say, I love you instead. Because that's the truth, ain't it? Jack's eyes burned. I'm scared, he whispered. Of what? That if I stop feeling guilty, I'll forget her. The chief's voice softened. Son, guilt don't keep people alive. Love does. And love don't live in the past. It lives in what you do next. They sat in silence. Outside, the wind rattled the windows. The mother, the chief said. She guilty too? Jack nodded. Different kind of guilt, but yeah. You help her? I'm trying. Good. The chief refilled their cups. Because the girl needs her mother, but the mother needs to learn how to be one first. You can teach her that. I'm not exactly father of the year. You loved your daughter enough to die for her. That makes you more of a father than most men walking around. You just gotta stop punishing yourself long enough to see it. Jack's throat closed up. The chief stood, walked to the shelf, pulled down a small leather pouch. Here. Jack took it. What is it? Sage. For burning. Clears the bad air out of a place. I don't believe in that stuff. Don't have to believe. Just have to do it. The chief smiled. Sometimes the ritual is what saves us. Not because it's magic. Because it reminds us we're still trying. Jack pocketed the pouch. Thanks. You're still here, Jack. That means you survived. Now you gotta decide. Are you alive or just breathing? Jack stood, shook the chief's hand. I don't know yet. Well, the chief said, you got time to figure it out. Back at the cabin, Victoria couldn't sleep either. She sat on Jack's bed, thin mattress, old quilt, one pillow, and looked around the room. It was the kind of poverty she'd only seen in documentaries. One change of clothes hanging on a nail, boots so worn the soles were separating, a bar of soap cut down to almost nothing, but it was clean, organized, cared for. On the dresser, she saw a small wooden box, opened it. Inside, a child's drawing, faded, wrinkled, a stick figure man and a stick figure girl holding hands, a horse in the background. At the top, in crayon, me and Daddy. Victoria's chest tightened. She closed the box, set it back carefully. Her eyes moved to the oil lamp on the table. Still burning, steady and warm. She stood, walked over to it, studied it, brass base, cracked glass, worn wick. It was worthless, but it was also beautiful. She thought about her apartment in New York. 47th floor, floor-to-ceiling windows, furniture that cost more than this entire ranch. But she'd never once lit a lamp there, never once sat in the dark and just been still. She looked at Lily, asleep on the couch, the red scarf tucked under her chin. Lily had been gone 3 days, and in those 3 days, she'd found something Victoria had spent 8 years failing to give her, peace. Victoria walked to the window, looked out at the dark fields, the barn, the broken fence. This place was falling apart, but somehow, it held more love than her empire ever had. She heard the truck pull up, saw Jack's shadow move toward the barn. She wanted to call out to him, to ask him how he did it, how he loved so completely, even after losing everything, but she didn't. She just stood there, watching the lamp burn, and for the first time in 2 years, she didn't check her phone, didn't think about work, didn't run from the silence. She just let it be. In the barn, Jack sat down in the hay, pulled out the leather pouch, looked at it, sage, for clearing bad air. He didn't believe in rituals, but the chief was right about one thing. Sometimes you do things not because they work, but because they remind you you're still trying. Jack opened the pouch, took out a bundle of dried sage, lit it with his lighter. The smoke curled up, bitter, clean. He walked through the barn, let the smoke drift over the stalls, the tools, the tack. Then he walked to the cabin, stood outside the door. Through the window, he could see Victoria standing by the lamp, Lily asleep on the couch. They looked like a painting, mother and child, quiet and still. Jack breathed the sage smoke, let it wash over him. Grace, he whispered to the dark. I'm sorry I couldn't save you, but I'm trying to save her. Is that okay? The wind answered, just wind, but somehow it felt like permission. Jack walked back to the barn, lay down in the hay. And for the first time in 5 years, he fell asleep without crying first. By morning, the whole town knew. Jack Mercer had a kid staying with him. And now some rich woman in a helicopter had shown up. Mrs. Henderson made sure of that. By 9 a.m., Sheriff Tom Dawson was knocking on Jack's door. He was a good man, Tom, 55, belly gone soft, but his eyes were kind. He'd been at Grace's funeral, one of the few who didn't whisper behind Jack's back. Jack, Tom said when the door opened. We got a situation. I figured. Harding's calling for a town meeting, says there's legal issues that need settling, child welfare, custody, all that. Jack's jaw tightened. When? Noon. At the church. Tom looked past him, saw Victoria standing by the table, Lily on the couch. Ma'am, you're the mother? Victoria nodded. You pressing charges against Jack? No. You want custody of your daughter? She's already mine. Then what's the problem? There isn't one, Victoria said. Mr. Harding is creating one. Tom sighed, rubbed his face. Yeah, that's what I figured. But he's got half the town worked up, says it's not proper, you leaving your daughter with a stranger, says CPS should be involved. Harding doesn't give a damn about proper, Jack said. He just wants my land. Tom nodded. I know, but he's got the law on his side. Technically, you should have reported finding her, and technically, she shouldn't have been here 3 days without notification. Technically, she was safer here than wherever she was before. Tom held up his hands. I'm not arguing with you, Jack. I'm just telling you how it is. You got to come to the meeting, both of you. Let folks see for themselves what happened. Otherwise, Harding's going to spin it however he wants. Jack looked at Victoria. She nodded. Fine, Jack said. We'll be there. The church was packed. Every pew filled, people standing in the back, faces Jack hadn't seen in years, all staring at him like he was something dangerous. Samuel Harding stood at the front, arms crossed, smiling like a man who'd already won. Sheriff Dawson stood beside the pulpit, uncomfortable, out of his depth. Jack walked in with Victoria and Lily. The room went silent. They sat in the front pew, Lily between them, holding both their hands. Tom cleared his throat. All right, folks, we're not here for a trial. We're just here to clear the air. Mr. Harding raised some concerns about the situation with Jack Mercer and this young girl, so let's hear it. Harding stepped forward. Thank you, Sheriff. I'll be brief. He looked at the crowd. 3 days ago, Jack Mercer found a child, a vulnerable, disabled child, and failed to report it to the authorities. He kept her on his property without notifying anyone. Now, I'm sure Mr. Mercer meant well, but good intentions don't change the law. Mrs. Henderson spoke up from the third pew. But the girl's fine. Look at her. She's healthy, happy. That's not the point, Harding said. The point is, we have procedures for a reason. Child Protective Services exist to protect children from situations exactly like this. From what? Chief Running Bear's voice cut through the room. He stood in the back, arms folded. From being fed? From being warm? Harding's smile thinned. From being kept by a man with no legal right to her. He didn't keep her, the chief said. He helped her. There's a difference. Is there? Harding turned to Jack. Mr. Mercer, did you attempt to contact the authorities when you found this child? Jack met his eyes. No. Why not? Phone line's been cut for 4 months. You know that. You're the one who refused to extend my loan to fix it. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Harding's jaw tightened. So you chose to keep her here, isolated. No way for anyone to know where she was. I chose to make sure she didn't starve. And I'm sure Ms. Chen appreciates that. Harding turned to Victoria. Ms. Chen, do you believe Mr. Mercer acted appropriately? Victoria stood, calm, composed. Mr. Harding, you're asking the wrong question. Excuse me? The question isn't whether Mr. Mercer followed protocol. The question is, what would have happened to my daughter if he hadn't been there? Silence. Victoria's voice was steady. I'm a billionaire. I have a staff of 40 people. Security, drivers, nannies, and I lost my daughter for 3 days because I was too busy to notice she was gone. She looked at Jack. Mr. Mercer has nothing, no money, no help, no reason to care, but he took my daughter in, fed her, kept her safe, treated her with more kindness than she'd seen in months. Her voice cracked. You want to talk about what's proper? What's proper is a parent who shows up, and I didn't, he did. The room was dead silent. Harding shifted. Be that as it may, I'm not finished. Victoria's voice cut like steel. You want to involve CPS? Go ahead. But when they investigate, they'll find that my daughter was malnourished, neglected, and wearing a broken leg brace I'd been too busy to fix for 2 months. So please, Mr. Harding, keep talking about proper. Harding's face went red. Tom stepped forward. I think we've heard enough. Ms. Chen, you have custody of your daughter. Yes. And you're satisfied with how Mr. Mercer cared for her? More than satisfied. Tom looked at Harding. Then there's no issue here, Sam. Let it go. But Harding wasn't done. He turned to the crowd. This isn't about one incident. It's about a pattern. Jack Mercer is not a stable man. 5 years ago, his daughter died in a fire, under his care, and now we're supposed to trust him with another child? The room erupted, voices overlapping, some defending Jack, some agreeing with Harding. Jack sat frozen, the words hitting him like fists. His daughter died under his care. Lily looked up at him, saw the pain in his face. She stood. Stop it. Everyone went quiet. Lily stepped into the aisle, small, limping, but her voice was clear as, Jack didn't hurt me. He saved me. Sweetheart, Harding said in a condescending tone. You don't understand. Yes, I do. Lily's voice was fierce. I was hungry. I was cold. I was scared. And Jack found me, and he didn't ask for anything. He just helped. She looked at the crowd. My mom is here now, and I'm glad. But if Jack hadn't been there first, I don't know what would have happened to me. Her voice softened. He's not dangerous. He's not broken. He's just sad, and he's trying really hard not to be. Jack's eyes burned. Lily turned to him. You told me Grace would be proud of you. She would be. I am. Jack couldn't breathe. Tom's voice was gentle. Lily, do you want to go home with your mother? Lily looked at Victoria, then at Jack. I want my mama to stay here, with Jack, just a little longer. Victoria's face softened. Lily, please, Mama, just one more day, so you can see, so you can learn. Victoria looked at Jack. He nodded. Okay, Victoria whispered. One more day. Sheriff Dawson clapped his hands. All right, folks, meeting's over. Everyone go home. People filtered out. Some shook Jack's hand. Some avoided his eyes. Harding was the last to leave. He paused at the door, looked back at Jack. You're still 3 months behind, Mercer. This doesn't change that. I know. End of the month. That's your deadline. He walked out. The church emptied. Jack sat in the pew, Victoria beside him, Lily between them. Thank you, Victoria said quietly. For what? For showing me what I forgot. What matters. Jack looked at Lily. She did that, not me. No, Victoria's voice was firm. You did, by being here, by staying. Jack's throat tightened. Chief Running Bear appeared in the aisle, smiled. You're still here, Jack. Jack nodded, and for the first time he believed it. That evening, Jack taught Victoria how to be a mother. Not with words, with actions. First thing, he said, standing by the barn, you gotta feed the horses before you feed yourself. They depend on you. That comes first. Victoria nodded, took the bucket of grain he handed her. Lily sat on a hay bale, watching, smiling. Victoria walked to the first stall. The gray mare, Biscuit, snorted and stamped. She doesn't like me, Victoria said. She doesn't know you yet, Jack corrected. Hold the bucket steady. Let her come to you. Victoria held the bucket, hands shaking slightly. The mare approached, slow, suspicious, then dipped her head and ate. Victoria's face softened. She's eating. Yeah, because you showed up. That's all it takes sometimes. Victoria looked at him, understanding dawning. They moved to the next stall, and the next. By the fourth horse, Victoria wasn't shaking anymore. Lily clapped. You're good at this, Mama. Victoria's eyes glistened. You think so? Yeah, you just had to try. Inside the cabin, Jack showed Victoria how to make dinner with almost nothing. You got beans, you got flour, you got water. That's a meal. That's barely anything, Victoria said. It's enough. Enough is a lot when you got somebody to share it with. He showed her how to mix cornbread, how to heat the beans without burning them, how to set the table, mismatched plates, dented forks but set with care. Lily helped, folding napkins, paper towels really, pouring water into cups. When Grace was little, Jack said, hands working the dough, she'd help me cook every night. She'd stand on a chair, right where you are, Lily. She'd make a mess of everything, but it didn't matter, because we were together. Lily looked at Victoria. You should let me help at home. Victoria swallowed. I will, I promise. They ate together, simple food, but it tasted like more than food. It tasted like family. After dinner, Victoria tried to wash the dishes. She'd never washed dishes in her life. She had staff for that, but Jack showed her. Hot water, soap, rinse. That's it. It's harder than it looks. Most important things are. They stood side by side at the sink. Jack washing, Victoria drying. Lily sat at the table, drawing with crayons Jack had found in an old box. "Jack," Victoria said quietly, "how did you do it? After Grace died, how did you keep going?" Jack's hands stopped, stared at the soapy water. "I didn't, not for a long time. I just existed." "What changed?" Jack looked at Lily. "She did." Victoria followed his gaze. "She reminds you of Grace." "No," Jack's voice was soft. "She reminds me that I'm still here, and if I'm still here, I got a choice. I can keep drowning, or I can try to swim." Victoria's hands trembled around the dish towel. "I've been drowning too. I just didn't know it. I thought if I worked hard enough, climbed high enough, earned enough, it would fill the hole my husband left. But it didn't. It just made the hole bigger." "Grief's like that," Jack said. "It don't get smaller, you just get bigger around it. Big enough to carry it without it crushing you." Victoria wiped her eyes. "I don't know if I'm big enough." "You are? You just gotta practice." They finished the dishes in silence. When the cabin was clean, Jack pulled the old blankets from the chest. "Lily, come here." She hopped over. Jack knelt down. "Tomorrow, you're leaving, going home." Lily's face fell. "I know. But before you go, I want to give you something." He reached into his pocket, pulled out the red scarf. "This belonged to Grace. It's the only thing I have left of her." Lily's eyes went wide. "Jack, I can't." "Yes, you can." He wrapped it gently around her neck. "Grace would have liked you, and I think she'd want you to have this, to keep you warm." Lily touched the scarf, tears streaming. "I'll take care of it, I promise." "I know you will." Then Jack stood, walked to the shelf, lifted down the oil lamp. He carried it to Victoria. "Ms. Chen." "Victoria, please." "Victoria." He held out the lamp. "I want you to have this." Victoria stared at it. "Jack, that's Grace's lamp. I can't take that." "You can, and you will." His voice was firm but kind. "This lamp? I couldn't light it for 5 years. Lily taught me how. Now I'm giving it to you, so you remember." "Remember what?" "That things aren't broken just because they're sad. They're just waiting for someone to believe in them again." Victoria's hands shook as she took the lamp. The brass was warm, the glass cracked but intact. "What if I forget?" she whispered. "What if I go home and fall back into old habits?" "Then you light this lamp, and you remember. You remember that your daughter needs you, not your money, not your success, just you, sitting with her, being there." Victoria nodded, couldn't speak. Jack turned to Lily. "Your turn." "My turn for what?" "To teach your mama something." Lily's face brightened. She took Victoria's hand, led her to the table. "Okay, Mama, I'm going to show you how to light it." Victoria sat down. Lily stood beside her. "First, you lift the glass. Careful, it's cracked." Victoria lifted it slowly. "Now you take a match." Lily handed her the box. Victoria's hands were shaking. "I'm scared I'll mess it up." "You won't," Lily said. "You just gotta believe." Victoria struck the match. The flame leapt to life. She touched it to the wick. The lamp caught, glowed, steady and warm. Lily set the glass back in place. They both stared at the light. "See?" Lily whispered. "You did it." Victoria pulled her daughter into a hug, held her tight. "Thank you," she breathed. "Thank you for not giving up on me." "I didn't give up," Lily said. "I just needed you to find me." Victoria looked at Jack. He was standing by the window, looking out at the dark. "Jack," Victoria said, "I can't repay you for what you've done. I don't want payment." "I know, but I want to help." "The mortgage? No." "Jack, you're going to lose this place?" "Oh, maybe. But I'll lose it on my own terms. Not because someone paid my way out of guilt." Victoria's jaw tightened. "It's not guilt, it's gratitude." Then be grateful by being there for her. That's all the payment I need." Victoria stood, walked over to him. "Can I bring her back to visit?" Jack's throat tightened. "I'd like that." "Christmas?" "I'll have the lamp lit." Victoria smiled, small, real. "Thank you, Jack Mercer, for reminding me what a home is supposed to feel like." Jack nodded. Couldn't trust his voice. That night, they all slept in the cabin. Victoria took the bed, Lily on the couch, Jack in the chair by the stove. But before they slept, Jack told them one more story about Grace. She used to say that stars were just holes in the sky where the light got through. That's pretty, Lily said. Yeah, she was like that, always making sad things sound beautiful. Do you think she's watching us? Lily asked. Jack looked at the lamp burning on the table. Yeah, he said. I think she is. Outside, the stars burned cold and bright. Inside, the lamp burned warm and steady. And for the first time in 5 years, Jack felt like maybe, just maybe, he was allowed to be happy again. Not because the pain was gone, but because he'd learned to carry it without letting it crush him. Dawn came soft and pink. Jack woke before the others. Habit. He stood outside the cabin, watching the sky turn from purple to gold. Behind him, the door creaked open. Victoria stepped out, wrapped in his old coat. She held 2 cups of coffee. Terrible coffee, the kind Lily had made yesterday, but Victoria had learned how. She handed him one. They stood in silence, watching the sunrise. I used to hate mornings, Victoria said. They meant rushing, meetings, deadlines. And now? Now I think I've been missing them. Jack sipped his coffee. It was still terrible, but it tasted like gratitude. You're going to be okay, he said. Victoria looked at him. How do you know? Because you're trying. That's half the battle right there. Victoria smiled, sad but real. I'm scared I'll fail her again. You will, Jack said. Everyone does, but the difference is whether you get back up after. Is that what you did? Jack thought about it. No, I stayed down for 5 years. But Lily, she made me get up. Now I'm doing the same for you. Victoria's eyes filled with tears. I don't deserve your kindness. Nobody deserves kindness. That's why it's called kindness. They finished their coffee as the sun climbed higher. Inside, Lily was awake. She sat at the table with crayons and paper. What are you making? Jack asked. A surprise. You'll see. Victoria started packing their things, which wasn't much. The clothes Jack had bought in town, the red scarf around Lily's neck, the stuffed rabbit. Jack made breakfast, oatmeal, brown sugar, the last of the milk. They ate slowly. Nobody wanted to rush. Lily kicked her legs under the table. Jack? Yeah? When I come back for Christmas, can we make cookies? Jack's throat tightened. Sure. And can we name the new horse, the brown one? You can name it whatever you want. I want to call it Grace. Jack's spoon stopped halfway to his mouth. Victoria looked up, worried she'd overstepped. But Jack smiled. Small. Genuine. Grace is a good name for a horse. Lily grinned. The best name. After breakfast, they heard the helicopter approaching. The same sound that had brought Victoria here. But this time, it didn't feel like an invasion, just a ride home. Jack walked them out to the field. The helicopter landed. The pilot stayed inside. The security guys waited by the door. Victoria turned to Jack, extended her hand. He shook it. Then impulsively, she hugged him. Thank you, she said into his shoulder. For everything. Jack patted her back awkwardly. Take care of her. I will, I promise. She pulled back, wiped her eyes, then walked toward the helicopter. Lily stayed behind. She looked up at Jack, eyes bright with tears. I don't want to go. I know, but you gotta. What if I forget you? Jack knelt down, eye to eye. You won't, and even if you do, I'll still be here. Promise? Promise. Lily threw her arms around his neck, held on tight. Jack held her back, let himself feel it, the weight of her, the warmth, the trust. You're gonna do great things, kid, he whispered. So are you. She pulled back, reached into her pocket, pulled out the folded paper she'd been working on. Here, this is for you. Jack took it, unfolded it carefully. It was a crayon drawing, 2 stick figures, one tall, one small, standing in front of a barn, between them a lamp, bright yellow, glowing. At the top, in shaky letters, my 2 dads. Below it, Papa in heaven, Jack on earth. Jack's vision blurred. You like it? Lily asked. Jack couldn't speak, just nodded. I drew the lamp, Lily said, because you taught me that broken things can still shine. Jack pulled her into another hug, tight, like if he let go, he'd fall apart. I love it, he managed. I'll keep it forever. Good, she kissed his cheek. Bye, Jack. Bye, kiddo. She limped toward the helicopter, turned back once, waved. Jack waved back. Victoria helped her inside, buckled her in, then looked out the window at Jack, mouthed, "Thank you." Jack nodded. The helicopter lifted off. Dust kicked up. The horses whinnied. Jack stood there, shielding his eyes. The helicopter rose higher, turned, headed east toward the rising sun. Jack watched until it was just a speck against the pink sky. Then it was gone. Jack stood in the field for a long time, the drawing in his hands, the wind cold on his face. He looked down at the picture. 2 stick figures, a lamp between them. He smiled despite the tears. 2 dads, he whispered. Yeah, I guess that's right. He folded the drawing carefully, put it in his jacket pocket. Then he walked back to the cabin. Inside it felt different, not empty, just quiet. The lamp sat on the table. Victoria had taken the one he'd given her, but Jack had another, always practical, always prepared. He lit it. The flame caught, burned steady. He looked around the cabin, saw it with new eyes. The unmade couch where Lily had slept, the chair where Victoria had sat learning to be still, the stove where they'd cooked together. This place had been a tomb for 5 years, but for 3 days, it had been a home again. And that mattered. Jack walked to the dresser, opened the drawer. The red scarf was gone, with Lily now, keeping her warm. But Grace's photo was still there. He picked it up. "I gave away your things, but so why?" he said to the picture. "I hope that's okay." Grace's smile looked back at him, frozen in time, forever 6 years old. "I think you would have liked Lily. She's stubborn like you, and brave." He set the photo on the mantel instead of hiding it in the drawer. Then he walked outside. The sun was fully up now, the sky clear and blue. Jack looked at the ranch, the broken fence, the sagging barn, the dying grass. It was still falling apart. But for the first time in 5 years, Jack thought maybe he could fix it. Not because he had to, because he wanted to. He walked to the grave, knelt down. "Grace," he said, "I met someone. A little girl. She reminded me of you, and I think she reminded me of me. The part of me I thought died with you." He touched the wooden marker. "I'm still here, and I think I'm going to be okay. Not today, maybe not next week, but someday." He stood. "I love you, baby girl. Always will." The wind blew soft and warm. For the first time, it felt like an answer. Jack walked back to the cabin. There was work to do, fences to fix, horses to feed, a life to live. He was still here, and that was enough. That evening, Jack walked to the grave one last time. The sun was setting, orange and gold bleeding into the horizon, the same sunset Lily had called pretty just days ago. Jack knelt at the marker, but this time he didn't say "I'm sorry." He said something else. "I love you, Grace. I always will." He touched the wood, weathered and worn, but still standing. "I met a little girl. Her name's Lily. She reminded me of you, and she reminded me that I'm allowed to keep living, even if you can't." His voice was steady now, clear. "I'm gonna fix the fence. Gonna keep the horses fed. Gonna light your lamp every night. Not because I'm guilty, because I'm grateful. Grateful I got to be your dad, even if it was only for 6 years." He stood, looked at the sky. "I'm still here, and I think that's okay now." The wind answered, warm this time, like permission. Jack walked back to the cabin. Inside, he lit the oil lamp, placed it in the window. The glass glowed against the gathering dark, steady, warm, a beacon. He looked at the drawing taped to the wall, 2 stick figures, a lamp between them. "My 2 dads." Jack smiled. Outside, the stars began to appear, holes in the sky where the light got through. Jack sat in his chair, poured himself coffee, terrible coffee. He didn't check the mortgage papers, didn't worry about the broken fence. He just sat. And for the first time in 5 years, Jack Mercer wasn't just breathing. He was alive. The lamp burned in the window, a promise, a light for anyone who needed finding. Grace was gone, but love wasn't, and neither was he. Some people are saved by leaving. Jack Mercer was saved by staying.